No, my entire life is collapsing. Everything I worked for, everything I loved, it's over. There's nothing left to do. God, help me. I can't take this anymore." The deafening silence filled every corner of the ruined conservatory. The smell of ash and burnt wood mingled with the metallic taste of fear that dried her mouth. Her hands trembled like leaves in the wind as she touched the charred remains of what was once her piano. The orange glow of the last embers cut through the shadows like a blade, reminding her that her world had just vanished forever. Chloe Anderson clenched her fists against her chest, feeling tears fall onto the ash-stained ground. At 20 years old, she had lost everything in a single night. Her career, her dreams, her identity. The Boston Conservatory was gone, and with it, the promise of a young pianist who once made entire auditoriums weep with her rendition of Chopin. "Miss Anderson," the firefighter's voice pulled her from her trance. "We need you to clear the area. It's still dangerous." Chloe looked up, her glassy green eyes reflecting the last flames that refused to die. Her left hand, wrapped in white bandages, throbbed with a pain that went beyond the physical. It was the pain of knowing she could never play as she once did, that the damaged tendons had stolen the precision that had made her a rising star. "My piano," she murmured, pointing toward the rubble where the remains of her Steinway Grand, a gift from her late grandmother, lay. It was right there when it happened. The firefighter followed her gaze and nodded with understanding. "I'm so sorry, miss. We know what this place meant to you all." Chloe stood up, wiping her tears with her right hand. She couldn't afford to fall apart, not when her mother was waiting at home, believing her daughter would return as always, victorious, radiant, full of stories about her progress at the academy. "How am I going to tell her?" she asked out loud, walking slowly toward the exit. "How do I tell her that I'll no longer be the pianist she dreamed I would be?" 3 months later, Chloe found herself in a small hotel room in Boston, gazing out the window at the skyscrapers that rose toward the sky like giants of glass and steel. She had taken a job as a housekeeper at the Moretti Hotel, not by choice, but by necessity. Her mother had fallen ill after the news of the accident, and the medical bills were quickly consuming their savings. "Good morning, Chloe," said Patricia, the housekeeping supervisor, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes. "You're on the 15th floor today. Those are the executive suites, so be careful with everything. The guests on that floor, well, let's just say they're used to perfection." Chloe nodded, adjusting the beige knit glove she always wore on her left hand. It had become part of her uniform, a second skin that hid the scars that were a constant reminder of her lost past. "Any special instructions?" she asked, taking her cleaning cart. "Yes," Patricia lowered her voice. "The owner often does surprise inspections, Vincent Moretti. He's young, but let's just say he's very demanding. If you see him, keep your composure and don't speak to him unless he speaks to you first." The name sounded familiar, but Chloe couldn't place it. She got into the elevator, feeling her stomach tighten slightly. In the 3 months she'd been working there, she had managed to keep a low profile, to be invisible. It was better that way. The 15th floor was a kingdom of luxury. Italian marble, crystal chandeliers, Persian rugs that cost more than Chloe's yearly salary. She began her routine, changing the silk sheets, cleaning the marble bathrooms, polishing every surface until it shone like a mirror. She was just finishing up the presidential suite when she heard a loud voice in the hallway, followed by a child's cry. She peeked out discreetly and saw an older man in an expensive suit, gesturing angrily while on the phone. Beside him, a boy of about 8 was crying his eyes out. "I don't care what the doctor says," the man yelled. "I need those documents signed today. Today." The boy, likely his son, sobbed even louder. Chloe felt a knot in her stomach. Without a second thought, she approached and knelt in front of the little boy. "Hi," she said softly, with a warm smile. "What's your name?" "Matthew," the boy answered between hiccups. "My dad is really mad, and I'm scared." Chloe glanced at the man, who was still shouting into his phone, completely oblivious to his son's distress. She made a decision that would change her life forever. "You know what, Matthew? When I was little and I got scared, my grandmother taught me something very special," she said, sitting on the floor next to him. "She taught me that music can make all the fear go away. Want me to show you?" The boy nodded, and Chloe began to hum a soft melody she had composed years ago, back when she still believed the world was a place full of possibilities. Her sweet, melodious voice filled the hallway with a warmth that made little Matthew stop crying. "Did you make that up?" the boy asked, amazed. "Yes," Chloe replied, feeling a pang of nostalgia. "It's called Hope. I wrote it to remind myself that there's always something beautiful even on the hardest days." She hadn't realized someone else was listening. From the other end of the hall, Vincent Moretti had witnessed the entire scene. His blue eyes, normally cold and unexpressive, showed a mix of curiosity and something he hadn't felt in years: genuine intrigue. Vincent was 30 years old and had inherited his father's hotel empire 3 years prior. He was known for his ruthless nature, his perfectionism, and his ability to keep a distance from everyone around him. Yet something about the way this woman had transformed a child's cries into serenity with just her presence had captivated him. "Who is she?" he wondered, watching as Chloe said goodbye to the boy and discreetly returned to her work. He noticed the beige glove on her left hand, the care with which she avoided drawing attention, the natural grace in her movements. The man in the expensive suit finally ended his call and realized his son was no longer crying. "Matthew, what happened? You calmed down." "Yeah, Dad. The cleaning lady sang me a really pretty song." Vincent frowned. Our housekeeper had done what he, the hotel owner, couldn't. She had made a guest, even a child, feel better. He returned to his office, his mind full of questions. That night, for the first time in months, he couldn't focus on financial reports. Instead, he found himself thinking about the woman's soft voice, the way her green eyes had sparkled when she spoke to the child. "What's happening to me?" he murmured, looking out his office window at the city lights. Chloe, for her part, had returned to her small apartment in Jamaica Plain with a racing heart. It was the first time in months she had sung, the first time she had shared her music with anyone. It had pained and comforted her at the same time. She took off the beige glove and looked at her left hand. The scars had healed, but the stiffness remained. She tried to move her fingers as she used to when she played, but the pain stopped her. Who was that man, she wondered, remembering the intense gaze she had felt on her as she comforted the boy. Why was he watching me like that? Have you ever felt your life change in an instant, that a moment of unexpected kindness reminded you of who you really are? Tell us in the comments what city you're reading from, and if this story is touching your heart, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Vincent couldn't get the image of Chloe comforting the child out of his head. Over the next few days, he found himself altering his inspection routines, spending more time on the floors where he knew she worked. It wasn't a conscious effort, but something about the woman's presence deeply intrigued him. It was a Friday morning when he finally saw her again. Chloe was cleaning the main lobby, moving with the same discreet grace he had noticed before. Her brown hair was tied back in a simple bun, and the beige glove stood out against her navy blue hotel uniform. "Excuse me," Vincent said, approaching her. His voice came out sharper than he'd intended. Chloe startled and turned, meeting a pair of blue eyes studying her intensely. He was tall, about 30, with perfectly styled black hair and a suit that probably cost more than her salary for several months. "Yes, sir," she replied, automatically looking down. She had learned it was best not to make eye contact with important guests. "Look at me," Vincent said. in a tone that brooked no argument. "What's your name?" Chloe looked up, feeling her cheeks flush. "Chloe Anderson, sir. I saw what you did with the boy on the 15th floor the other day." Vincent crossed his arms, keeping his distance, but holding her gaze. "It was interesting." "Interesting?" Chloe couldn't help but let a small smile escape. "Matthew was scared. I just wanted to help." "Do you always sing for the guests?" The question caught her off guard. Chloe felt her chest tighten, remembering why she had stopped singing in the first place. "No, sir, it was just a moment." She tried to keep her voice steady, but the way he was looking at her made her feel exposed. "Is there something you need? A complaint about my work?" Vincent noticed how she changed the subject, how her body tensed when he mentioned her singing. There was something else there, something she was hiding. "No complaints," he replied. "On the contrary. Mr. Restrepo, Matthew's father, told me his son hasn't stopped talking about the lady with the pretty song. He even asked to come back to the hotel just to see you." Chloe smiled genuinely for the first time in their conversation. "He's a very sweet boy. He reminded me of my younger brother when he was little." "You have brothers?" "I had one," Chloe replied, and Vincent noticed her voice break slightly. "He passed away 2 years ago. Leukemia." Silence stretched between them. Vincent felt awkward, a sensation he rarely experienced. Something in the way Chloe had said those words touched him in a way he didn't expect. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "Thank you." Chloe adjusted the glove on her left hand, a gesture Vincent noticed she made frequently. "If you don't need anything else, I have to finish my shift." "Of course." Vincent nodded but didn't move. "Chloe." "Yes?" "The song you sang for Matthew, did you write it?" Chloe hesitated. It was a question that led directly to her past, to the person she was before the accident. "Yes," she finally answered. "A long time ago." Vincent wanted to ask more, but something in Chloe's expression told him not to push. "Not yet." "Well," he said, taking a step back, "have a good day." Chloe watched him walk, feeling a mix of relief and disappointment. There was something about Vincent Moretti that unsettled her, but not in an unpleasant way. It was as if he could see through the masks she had learned to wear. That night, Chloe arrived at her apartment, later than usual. Her mother, Helen, was waiting for her in the small living room, a cup of tea in her hands. "How was your day, sweetheart?" Helen asked. At 55, her illness had left its mark on her face, but her eyes were the same, ones that had comforted Chloe her whole life. "Strange," Chloe replied, sitting beside her. "The hotel owner spoke to me today." "Vincent Moretti," Helen frowned. "I've heard of him. They say he's very demanding." "He is, but—" Chloe hesitated. "He wasn't unpleasant, just intense. He asked me about the song I sang for a little boy the other day." Helen took her daughter's right hand. "You sang?" "It was just for a moment, Mom. A child was crying and I—" Chloe sighed. "I couldn't help it." "My girl," Helen caressed her cheek. "You know it worries me to see you like this. You haven't been yourself since the accident." "I am myself, Mom. Just a different version." "No." Helen shook her head. "You've hidden yourself away. You've put on a mask so thick I'm afraid you'll forget who you really are." Chloe looked at her left hand, still covered by the glove. "I'm not that person anymore. That Chloe died in the fire. That's not true." Helen's voice hardened. "That Chloe is still there waiting for you to have the courage to let her out." Meanwhile, in his penthouse in the most exclusive part of the city, Vincent was reviewing staff files. He had specifically requested Chloe Anderson's file, though he wasn't sure why. "Chloe Anderson, 20 years old, single, no children," he read aloud. "Recommended by Patricia Hernandez, housekeeping supervisor. Evaluations: excellent punctuality, excellent guest relations, excellent quality of work." What the file didn't say was what he really wanted to know. Why had a woman who was clearly more educated than her job required ended up cleaning rooms? Why did she always wear that glove? Why was there such a deep sadness in her green eyes? His phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. It was his personal assistant, Sophia. "Mr. Moretti, your father is calling from Italy. He says it's urgent." Vincent sighed. His conversations with his father always ended in arguments about the business, about family expectations, about why he hadn't yet married a suitable heiress. "Put him through," he said, closing Chloe's file. "Vincent," Alberto Moretti's voice sounded tired over the phone. "We need to talk about the plans for the Miami property." "What's wrong with Miami?" "There are some permit issues. Apparently some families are suing for compensation over the conservatory fire we accidentally caused a few months ago." Vincent's blood ran cold. "What fire?" "Don't you remember? Our security company had an electrical fault that caused the fire at the Boston Conservatory. It was an accident, but we're technically liable. Some of the students are demanding compensation." "Father!" Vincent stood up from his chair. "When exactly did this happen?" 3 months ago." "Why?" "It was handled discreetly, but it seems there's one family that won't accept the money we offered." Vincent felt a knot in his stomach. 3 months, exactly when Chloe had started working at the hotel. "Which family?" "The Andersons. They claim their daughter was a promising pianist and that she lost her career because of the accident. They're asking for a ridiculous amount." Chloe's file fell from Vincent's hands. "Anderson. Chloe Anderson." "Vincent, are you there?" Yes, Dad. We'll talk tomorrow." He hung up the phone with trembling hands. Chloe, the woman who had started to occupy his thoughts, who had awakened something in him he thought was dead, was one of the victims of a fire caused by his own company. "My God," he murmured, remembering the glove she always wore, the sadness in her eyes, the way she had avoided talking about her music. "What have I done?" Vincent didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Chloe's face, remembered the way she had sung to the little boy, how she had avoided talking about her music. It all made sense now, and the weight of the realization crushed him. At 6 in the morning, he was already in his office, researching everything he could about the conservatory fire. The reports were devastating. The fire had started due to a short circuit in the security system installed by Moretti Security, a subsidiary of his company. 3 students had been injured, and among them, Chloe Anderson had suffered second-degree burns on her left hand. But that wasn't all. According to reports, Chloe had been considered a prodigy, a pianist with a brilliant future ahead of her. At 18, she had already won several national competitions and had received offers from conservatories in Europe. "Her whole life was ruined because of us," Vincent murmured, reading the medical report that detailed the damage to her tendons. "And I didn't even know it happened." His phone rang. It was Sophia. "Mr. Moretti, your father is on the line again. I can't talk to him right now. He says it's about the Anderson matter. Apparently the family has rejected the compensation offer again." Vincent closed his eyes. "Put him through." "Vincent," his father's voice sounded impatient, "I need you to handle this personally. The Andersons are being irrational. They turned down $30,000 in compensation. What more do they want?" $30,000. Vincent felt rage building inside him. "Father, that woman lost her entire career. She was a pianist, an artist. Do you think $30,000 can compensate for a lifetime of dreams?" "Vincent, I don't understand why you're so upset. It's a business matter." "It's not just business when you destroy a person's life." There was a silence on the other end of the line. "Do you know this family?" Vincent hesitated. "I have to go, Dad. We'll talk later." He hung up before his father could respond. He stood motionless for several minutes, trying to process what he had discovered. Chloe worked for him, for the company that had destroyed her future. Every day she entered his hotel, cleaned his rooms, smiled politely when he spoke to her, never knowing that he was directly responsible for her pain. "What kind of person am I?" he asked. "Himself," remembering how he had wanted to impress her, how he had started to feel something for her without knowing the truth. That morning, Vincent made a decision that would change everything. He waited in the lobby until he saw Chloe arrive for her shift. She walked with the same grace as always, but now Vincent could see what he had overlooked before, the way she protected her left hand, how her eyes darkened whenever music was mentioned. "Good morning, Chloe," he said, approaching her. "Good morning, Mr. Moretti," she replied, surprised to see him so early. "Is there anything I can help you with?" "Yes." Vincent took a deep breath. "I need to talk to you. In private." Chloe's stomach clenched. "Did I do something wrong?" "No, it's not that." Vincent glanced around the lobby, bustling with guests and employees. "Could you come up to my office?" I suppose so." The elevator ride to Vincent's office floor was silent. Chloe grew increasingly nervous, wondering what she had done to warrant the hotel owner's attention twice in 1 week. Vincent's office was impressive. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the city, Italian leather furniture, an art collection that was likely worth more than everything Chloe had ever owned. "Please sit," Vincent said, gesturing to a chair in front of his desk. Chloe sat, maintaining the straight posture she had learned years ago in her piano lessons. Vincent watched her, noticing for the first time the small details that revealed her past, the way she held her hands, the natural elegance of her movements. "Chloe," Vincent began, the words catching in his throat, "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me." "Okay. Why do you work here?" The question surprised her. "Because I need the job. I need the money." "But that's not what I mean." Vincent leaned forward. "You're educated, cultured. It's obvious you didn't grow up cleaning hotel rooms. What happened?" Chloe's heart began to race. "I don't see how that's relevant to my job, because I think your life changed 3 months ago. I think something happened that forced you to leave everything you knew and start over." Chloe's eyes filled with tears. "Why are you asking me this?" Vincent got up from his chair and walked over to her. "Because I need you to know the truth. Chloe, I know about the conservatory fire." Chloe turned pale. "How?" "And I know you were one of the victims." Vincent knelt in front of her, searching for her gaze. "I know you were a pianist." "How do you know that?" Chloe shot up from her seat, her right hand flying to her chest. "Who told you?" "Chloe, listen to me." Vincent stood up as well. "You need to know that the company responsible for the fire was ours. Moretti Security installed the faulty electrical system." Chloe's world stopped. "What?" "The company that caused the fire that destroyed your career belongs to my family." Chloe stared at him, uncomprehending, as if the words made no sense. "No, it can't be." "It is." Vincent reached a hand toward her, but Chloe recoiled. "Chloe, I didn't know. When I met you, I had no idea who you were. My father handled the whole thing without telling me." "Without telling you?" Chloe's voice rose. "Without telling you that you destroyed the lives of innocent people?" "I didn't know," Vincent repeated desperately. "You have to believe me." Chloe pulled the glove off her left hand and showed it to him. The scars were more extensive than Vincent had imagined, a jagged pattern that ran from her fingers to her wrist. "Do you see this?" she said, her voice breaking. "This is what your company did to me. This is what destroyed my life." Vincent looked at the scars, his heart breaking. "Chloe, I was 18, Chloe continued, tears streaming down her face. "I had a scholarship to study in Vienna. I had a future. I had dreams. And in one night, because of your damn company, it all disappeared. Why didn't you accept the compensation my father offered?" Chloe looked at him with a mixture of pain and contempt. "Compensation? You think money can give me back my career? You think it can buy back my dreams? No, I don't. Every day I come here, I work for you. And I never knew you were the son of the man who destroyed my life." Chloe moved toward the door. "Do you know what the worst part is? For a moment, When we talked the other day, I thought you were different. I thought you were someone who could understand me. Chloe, wait. She stopped at the door, without turning back. I have nothing more to say to you, Mr. Moretti. Are you going to quit? Chloe turned, and Vincent could see the determination in her eyes, despite the tears. No, she said firmly. I'm not quitting. I need this job, and I'm not going to let you take that from me, too. I don't want you to quit. Good. Chloe put her glove back on. Then keep your distance. Pretend this conversation never happened. I can't do that. Why not? Vincent looked her directly in the eye. Because I can't pretend I don't feel what I feel for you. Chloe felt the air leave her lungs. What? From the moment I saw you with that child, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. There's something about you that makes me feel alive in a way I've never felt before. No, Chloe shook her head. You can't say that to me. Not after what you've just revealed. Chloe, I didn't know, but you know now. And know that every time you look at me, every time you talk to me, you're reminding me of what I lost because of your family. Vincent moved closer to her. Let me make it up to you. Let me help you. How? Chloe looked at him with disbelief. How are you going to make it up to me? Are you going to give me full use of my hand back? Are you going to erase the last 3 months of my life? I can give you resources to study music again. I can get you the best physical therapists, the best doctors. It's not just my hand, Chloe cried. It's my confidence, it's my faith in the future. How are you going to give me that back? Vincent fell silent, knowing he had no answer to that question. Exactly, Chloe said, wiping her tears. You can't. So let me work in peace, Mr. Moretti. Let me earn a living with dignity, and stay away from me. She walked out of the office, leaving Vincent alone with the weight of the truth and the knowledge that he had lost something he didn't even know he'd had. Have you ever felt like fate played the cruelest joke on you? That when you finally found someone special, you discovered an impossible barrier between you? Tell us your experience in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like if the story is moving you, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. For the next few weeks, Vincent and Chloe engaged in a strange dance of avoidance. He adjusted his schedules to minimize the chances of running into her, yet at the same time, he found himself making excuses to be on the floors where she worked. Chloe, for her part, had perfected the art of becoming invisible whenever she saw him approach. But the tension was palpable to everyone in the hotel. Patricia, the supervisor, noticed the change immediately. Chloe, honey, she said one day, as they were prepping the cleaning carts. Did something happen with Mr. Moretti? Lately you look like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Chloe continued, folding towels without looking up. I don't know what you're talking about, Patricia. Oh, please, I've been working here for 30 years. I know tension when I feel it. Patricia moved closer and lowered her voice. Did he say something inappropriate? Because if he did... It's not that. Chloe interrupted her. It's complicated. Everything's complicated when it comes to the heart, honey. Chloe looked at her, surprised. The heart? Please. As if it's not obvious. The way he searches for you with his eyes when he thinks no one is looking, the way you practically stop breathing when he's near. Patricia smiled wisely. I've seen this movie before. Patricia, he's my boss. And besides, Chloe hesitated. Besides, it's impossible. In love, honey, the only impossible thing is not trying. That night, Chloe got home later than usual. Her mother was waiting in the kitchen, preparing dinner with the limited ingredients they could afford. Mom, I told you, you don't have to wait up. For me, Chloe said, kissing her on the cheek, you should be resting. I can't rest when I see my daughter suffering in silence, Helen replied, serving 2 plates of pasta with a simple tomato sauce. Tell me what's wrong. Chloe sat at the table, picking at her food without taking a bite. I found out who caused the conservatory fire. Helen stopped eating. What? The security company that installed the faulty system. It belongs to the Moretti family. The owners of the hotel where you work? Yes. And Vincent, the owner's son. He didn't know anything until a few weeks ago. Helen watched her daughter carefully. And how did he react when he found out? He wanted to help me. He said he could get me doctors, physical therapists, resources to study again. And what did you say? No. Chloe finally took a bite. That he can't buy my forgiveness with money. Chloe! Helen took her daughter's right hand. Are you sure it was just about pride? What do you mean? I mean, is there something else behind your refusal? Something that has to do with how you feel about him? Chloe pulled her hand away. I don't feel anything for him, Mom. You're lying. Helen knew her too well. And you know you're lying. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Nothing. I can't have feelings for the son of the man who ruined my life. The son who knew nothing about what happened. The son who wants to help you now that he knows the truth. Mom. No, listen to me. Helen stood up and came over to Chloe. Your whole life, you've been too hard on yourself. When your brother died, you blamed yourself for not being able to save him. When the accident happened, you blamed yourself for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And now, when someone genuinely wants to help you, you refuse because you think you don't deserve it. That's not it. Then what is it? Chloe was quiet for a long moment. I'm scared, she finally admitted. Of what? Of trusting him. And being let down. Of believing something good could happen to me and finding out I'm wrong. Chloe put her face in her hands. I don't know if I can survive another loss, Mom. Helen hugged her daughter. My love, fear can't be the reason you let happiness pass you by. Meanwhile, Vincent was in his office, working late as he had every night since his conversation with Chloe. His desk was covered with reports on physical therapists specializing in hand injuries, conservatories offering programs for students with disabilities, and all sorts of resources he thought might help Chloe. His phone rang. It was his night assistant. Mr. Moretti, your father is on the line from Italy. Vincent sighed. He'd been avoiding his father's calls for days. Put him through. Vincent, Alberto's voice was annoyed. Why haven't you been answering my calls? I've been busy. Busy avoiding the subject of the Andersons, I suppose. Alberto sighed. Look, son, I understand you feel guilty about what happened, but we can't change the past. All we can do is manage the present intelligently. Intelligently. Vincent felt rage rise in his throat. How is it intelligent to ignore the suffering we caused? Vincent, we're businessmen. Accidents happen. We offered fair compensation. Fair? Vincent stood up from his chair. Dad, that woman was an artist. She had a brilliant future ahead of her. Do you think $30,000 is enough to compensate for a lifetime of lost dreams? Lifetime? Vincent, you're being dramatic. She can do other things. You don't understand. Vincent closed his eyes, trying to control his temper. You don't understand what it means to lose your passion, your reason for being. And you do? Since when does Vincent Moretti care so much about an employee? Vincent fell silent. His father had hit the nail on the head. Ah, Alberto continued, his tone one of dawning comprehension. I see. You've fallen for her. It's not that simple. Of course. It is. You've fallen in love with one of the victims of our accident. Vincent, do you realize how complicated that makes things? Yes, Dad, I realize perfectly. Then you know the smartest thing to do would be to stay away from that situation. I can't do that. Why not? Vincent looked out the window at the city lights. Because for the first time in my life, I feel like there's something worth fighting for. There was a silence on the other end of the line. Vincent, Alberto finally said, his voice softer. I know you think you love her, but think of the consequences. If it becomes public that the Moretti heir is romantically involved with the victim of our accident, it could ruin the company's reputation. Then let it be ruined. What did you say? I said, if our reputation depends on hiding our mistakes and ignoring the people we've hurt, then it deserves to be ruined. Vincent, don't be foolish. Think of everything we've built. Dad, I have to go. Vincent, don't do anything stupid. Vincent hung up without replying. He stood staring out the window, thinking of Chloe, of the way she had sung to the child, of the deep sadness in her green eyes, of the scars she hid beneath the glove. What am I going to do? He asked himself out loud. The next day, Vincent made a decision. He arrived at the hotel early and went straight to find Patricia. I need to talk to you, he said. Patricia looked at him suspiciously. About what, Mr. Moretti? About Chloe. Ah. Patricia crossed her arms. I figured this had to do with her. I need to know more about her situation, her family, her financial needs. What for? Vincent hesitated. Because I want to help her. Why would a man like you want to help a housekeeper like Chloe? Because... Vincent searched for the right words. Because I have my reasons. Patricia studied him for a moment. Mr. Moretti, Chloe is a good girl. She's been through a lot of pain and has carried on with dignity. If your intentions toward her aren't completely honorable, I suggest you stay away. My intentions are honorable. Are you sure? Because that girl doesn't deserve any more suffering. I'm sure. Patricia nodded slowly. Her mother is sick, cancer. The treatments are expensive and their insurance doesn't cover everything. Chloe works double shifts when she can to pay for the medicine. Vincent felt his chest tighten. How serious is it? Serious, but with the right treatment, she could get better. Patricia looked at him directly. The problem is, the right treatment costs more money than Chloe can make here. How much? Mr. Moretti, I don't think... How much? Patricia sighed. About $150,000 for the next 6 months of treatment. Vincent nodded. Thank you for telling me. Mr. Moretti. Patricia stopped him as he was about to leave. Be careful. Chloe has a lot of pride. If she finds out you're asking about her private life, she won't like it one bit. No. That afternoon, Vincent did something he had never done before. He personally researched the best oncologists in the country and set up appointments for Chloe's mother. He also contacted physical therapists specializing in hand injuries and piano teachers who worked with students with disabilities. But he knew he couldn't just approach Chloe and offer her all of this. She would reject it immediately. He needed to find another way. The answer came when he least expected it. He was going. Through the mail, when he saw an invitation to a benefit event at Boston Symphony Hall. It was a concert to raise funds for music students with special needs. Perfect, he murmured, picking up the phone to call the organizers. The event at Boston Symphony Hall was elegant and filled with the city's high society. Vincent had managed to get Chloe invited as a representative of the hotel, arguing that it was important for employees to be aware of the cultural events the hotel sponsored. Chloe had reluctantly accepted, mainly because Patricia had convinced her it was a networking opportunity. Chloe wore a simple black dress that had belonged to her mother and had opted to wear black gloves that matched her outfit. She felt out of place among such elegance, but tried to maintain her composure. I didn't know you were coming, Vincent said, approaching her during the pre-concert cocktail hour. Chloe tensed immediately. Patricia told me it was mandatory for some employees. It's not mandatory, Vincent replied. I thought you might enjoy hearing classical music. Why would you think that? Vincent looked at her intensely. Because I know you love it. Chloe felt her throat tighten. I don't know what you're talking about. Chloe, you don't have to pretend with me. I'm not pretending anything. Chloe started to walk away, but Vincent followed. Do you know what's on the program tonight? No. Chopin, Nocturne in E-flat major, Op. 9, number 2. Chloe stopped abruptly. It was one of her favorite pieces, one she had performed at her last recital before the accident. Why are you telling me that? Because I want you to hear it. I want you to remember why you loved music. And then what? Chloe turned to face him. her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Then I go home and torture myself, remembering what I can't do. No. Vincent moved closer to her. Then you go home and remember that music isn't just about playing. It's about feeling, connecting, finding beauty in the world. You don't understand. Then help me understand. Chloe looked at him for a long moment. You want to understand? Fine. Come with me. She led him to a more private corner of the hall, where a grand piano that would be used during the concert was set up. See this piano, she said, approaching the instrument. When I was a little girl, my grandmother brought me to Symphony Hall for the first time. I was 8, and when I saw this piano, I told her that one day I would play. Here. Chloe ran her right hand over the keys without pressing them. For 10 years, every day of my life revolved around that promise. Every hour of practice, every sacrifice my family made, every dream I had. It was all aimed at the moment I would sit in front of a piano like this and play for an audience, like the one here tonight. She took off her black glove and showed the scars to Vincent. You see this? These aren't just marks on my skin. They are the death of everything I ever was. Vincent looked at the scars, and for the first time, he truly understood the magnitude of what Chloe had lost. Can you play something? Even something simple? Chloe looked at him in disbelief. Didn't you hear me? I heard you. But I also know there are different ways to play. It doesn't have to be perfect. No. Chloe shook her head. I can't. Not in front of all these people. Then play for me. Just for me. Chloe's heart started to race. Why is this so important to you? Because... Vincent struggled for words. Because I need to fully understand what my family took from you. And because I need to know if there's any way to help you get even a small part of it back. Chloe looked at him for a long moment, seeing something in his blue eyes she hadn't noticed before. Genuine vulnerability. Okay, she said finally, but not here. There's a piano in the rehearsal room in the basement. Vincent followed her down hallways she knew by heart, until they reached a small room with an upright piano. Chloe sat down at the instrument, taking a deep breath. It's not going to be pretty, she warned him. I don't care. Chloe placed her hands on the keys and slowly began to play the first notes of Chopin's Nocturne. Her left hand struggled, the fingers not moving with the fluidity they once had. But there was something in the music coming from the piano that was deeply emotional. Vincent listened, mesmerized. He could hear the struggle in every note, but he could also hear Chloe's soul pouring into the music. It was imperfect, painful, but beautiful, in a way that went straight to his heart. Chloe stopped midway through the piece, tears streaming down her cheeks. I can't, she murmured. It's too painful. Vincent came over and sat next to her on the piano bench. Painful because of the physical limitations, or because of the memories, because of everything. Chloe wiped her tears. Because of who I was, because of what I can't be now, because, despite everything, I still love this music more than anything in the world. Then don't give it up. How can I not? Every time I play, it reminds me of what I lost. What if instead of reminding you of what you lost, it reminded you of what you still have? Chloe looked at him confused. Your talent wasn't just in your technical perfection, Vincent explained. It was in the emotion you conveyed, and that's still there. It's not enough. Why not? Because I had plans. I had goals. I was going to play with orchestras, record albums, teach at prestigious conservatories. And you can't do any of that now? Chloe looked at him as if it were obvious. Not with these hands. Are you sure? Vincent stood up and walked toward her. Chloe, there are musicians here tonight who have overcome incredible obstacles. There's a violinist who lost 2 fingers in an accident and now plays with a prosthesis. There's a singer who went deaf in one ear and developed a completely new technique. That's different. Why? Because Chloe searched for the words. Because they found ways to continue being who they always were. I don't know how to do that. Vincent knelt in front of her. Then let me help you figure it out. Why? Chloe looked him straight in the eyes. Why are you so determined to help me? Is it guilt? Is it pity? No. Vincent took her hands, including the scarred left one. It's because I fell in love with you. Chloe felt the world stand still. What? I fell in love with the woman who comforted a scared child with her voice. I fell in love with the way your eyes light up when you talk about music, even when it hurts. I fell in love with your strength, your dignity, the way you keep going, despite everything you've lost. Vincent, Chloe tried to process what she had just heard. I know it's complicated. I know my family caused your pain. I know this is probably the worst possible situation to fall in love with someone. Vincent squeezed her hands gently. But I can't change how I feel. Chloe pulled her hands away. You can't love me. Why not? Because I'm a burden. Because I'm broken. Because every time you look at me, you'll remember what your family did. No. Vincent moved closer. Every time I look at you, I remember why it's worth getting up every morning. Chloe got up from the bench, moving away from him. This is insane. Why? Because we're from different worlds. Because you're the heir to an empire and I'm a housekeeper with scars. I don't care about that. You should. Chloe headed for the door. Your family would never accept it. Society would never accept it. To hell with them. Chloe stopped, surprised by the vehemence in his voice. To hell with all of them, Vincent repeated. Chloe, my whole life I've lived by other people's expectations. I've been the perfect son, the obedient heir, the ruthless businessman. But with you, I'm just me. Chloe turned slowly. And who are you? Really? Vincent walked toward her. I'm someone who stayed up all night researching physical therapists for your hand. I'm someone who anonymously donated to the foundation that's paying for your mother's experimental treatment. What? Chloe felt her legs go weak. I'm someone who bought all the oncology treatments your mother will need for the next 2 years. Vincent, what did you do? What I should have done from the beginning. Vincent reached her. Take responsibility for the damage my family caused and try to fix it. Chloe put her face in her hands. I can't accept that. It's already done. The money is already in the hospital's account. Your mother starts treatment next week. Why? Chloe looked at him, tears in her eyes. Why would you do that without telling me? Because I knew you'd say no. Because your pride is stronger than your need. Because someone had to take care of you. Even if you won't let me do it openly. Chloe sank into a chair, overwhelmed with emotion. I don't know what to say. Say you'll give me a chance. A chance for what? To prove that we can build something beautiful together. To help you find a new way to make music. To love you the way you deserve to be loved. Chloe looked at him for a long moment. And when your family finds out, when the press discovers that the Moretti heir is with one of the victims of the fire they caused, we'll face that when the time comes. Vincent, you don't understand the consequences. Do you? Vincent moved closer and took her face in his hands. Do you understand that if you say no to me now, we could be losing the only real chance at happiness either of us has ever had? Chloe felt herself melt under his gaze. I'm scared. So am I. But I'm more scared of living without you. At that moment, the sound of the piano from the main concert filtered down from upstairs. It was the Chopin nocturne that Chloe had started to play. That should be me, Chloe murmured. One day it will be. Vincent promised her, maybe not in the way you originally planned, but in a way that will be uniquely yours. Chloe closed her eyes, listening to the music, feeling Vincent's closeness, trying to imagine a future she hadn't dared to dream of. If I do this, she said finally, if I give you a chance, you have to promise me something. Anything. Promise me that when this gets hard, and it will get hard, you won't run away. Promise me you won't decide that I'm too complicated or that my baggage is too heavy. Vincent kissed her gently on the forehead. I promise I will fight for us, no matter what comes. Okay, Chloe murmured against his chest. Okay. 2 months after the concert at Symphony Hall, Chloe's life had changed in ways she had never imagined. Vincent had kept every one of his promises. Her mother was responding excellently to treatment. She had started physical therapy with the best hand injury specialist in the country. And most importantly, she had found a new way to connect with music. Are you ready? Vincent asked, taking her hand as they walked toward the rebuilt Boston Conservatory. Chloe took a deep breath. It was her first time back since the night of the accident. I'm not sure. We can leave if it's too much, Vincent assured her, squeezing her hand. No, Chloe straightened her shoulders. I need to do this. The new conservatory was beautiful, modern, with state-of-the-art security systems. But for Chloe, every step was an echo of the past. Miss Anderson, the director, Mr. Garcia, an older man with kind eyes, greeted them. It's an honor to finally meet you. Vincent has told me a lot about you. Chloe looked at Vincent curiously. For the past few weeks he had been mysterious about this meeting. Mr. Garcia has a proposal for you, Vincent explained. Follow me, please, the director said, leading them through hallways that stirred up both painful and beautiful memories. They arrived at a classroom where a group of children, between 8 and 12 years old, were gathered, each with some form of physical disability. Some had prosthetic arms, others were in wheelchairs, and some had movement limitations similar to Chloe's. These children, Mr. Garcia explained, are our special students. They all have an immense passion for music, but they need adaptive techniques to express it. Chloe watched the children, seeing in their eyes the same flame that had burned in hers when she was little. What do you want from me? She asked. We want you to be their teacher, Mr. Garcia replied. No one can better teach them how to overcome physical limitations than someone who has been through it and found a way to keep making music. But Chloe hesitated. I'm still learning to adapt my own technique. Exactly, the director smiled. You would learn alongside them. You would develop new ways of making music together. A girl of about 10, with a prosthetic arm, shyly approached Chloe. Is it true you were a famous pianist? Chloe knelt to be at the girl's level. I'm trying to be one again, but in a different way. I want to play the violin, the girl said, but my prosthesis doesn't let me hold the bow right. Chloe looked at Vincent, who was watching her with an encouraging expression. Then she looked at the other children, who had gathered around to listen. You know what? Chloe said, with a smile Vincent hadn't seen in months. I think we could find completely new ways to play the violin. Ways that no one has ever thought of before. The little girl's eyes lit up. Really? Really? But you'd have to help me figure out how. For the next hour, Chloe worked with the children, experimenting with different techniques, adapting exercises, and for the first time since the accident, she felt completely in her element. She wasn't the virtuoso pianist she had once been, but she was something new, a guide, an innovator, a teacher who understood both loss and hope. I accept, she told Mr. Garcia when the session was over. I accept the teaching position. Vincent smiled, his heart swelling as he saw the light that had returned to Chloe's eyes. That night, Chloe and Vincent walked through Boston Common, enjoying the cool breeze and the lights that illuminated the city. Thank you, Chloe said, stopping in front of the fountain. For what? For not trying to fix me, for helping me find a new version of myself. Vincent wrapped his arms around her. You didn't need fixing, you just needed time to discover who you were after everything that happened. And who am I? You're the woman who turns scars into wisdom. You're the woman who takes her pain and transforms it into a way to help others. Vincent kissed her softly. You're the woman I fall more deeply in love with every day. Chloe snuggled against his chest. You know what's the strangest part? What? For months I thought my life ended in that fire. But now I realize that maybe it was necessary to lose. What I was to find, what I could become. You don't miss the life you had planned? Chloe thought for a moment. Sometimes, but the life I'm building now, it's mine in a way the other one never was. That other life was a little girl's dream. This life is a woman's choice. Vincent gently pulled her back to look into her eyes. Chloe, there's something I need to tell you. What? My father is coming to Boston next week. Chloe felt her stomach tense. What for? To meet you. To talk personally. To you. Vincent, I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I'll be with you. You don't have to face him alone. What did you tell him about us? Vincent took Chloe's hands in his. I told him the truth. I told him I fell in love with you. I told him I'm going to marry you if you'll have me. Chloe's heart stopped. Marry me? Yes. Vincent knelt right there in the middle of Boston Common, pulling out a small velvet box. Chloe Anderson, will you marry me? Chloe looked at him, overwhelmed. Vincent, I know it's complicated. I know there will be obstacles, but I also know that I don't want to spend another day of my life without you. Chloe looked at the ring, a simple but beautiful solitaire, and then into Vincent's blue eyes, full of love and determination. Yes, she murmured, tears streaming down her cheeks. Yes, I'll marry you. Vincent stood up and kissed her, as passers-by in the park clapped spontaneously. When they parted, Chloe realized that for the first time in months, the future seemed full of infinite possibilities. But she knew the hardest part was yet to come. A week later, Alberto Moretti arrived in Boston with the intention of putting an end, once and for all, to what he considered his son's obsession with that woman. He had prepared legal arguments, financial threats, and even a detailed investigation into Chloe's family to find something he could use against her. The meeting took place in Vincent's office, a territory Chloe had avoided since that painful conversation months ago. Now she returned as the owner's fiancée, but she felt just as nervous. Alberto Moretti was exactly what Chloe had imagined. A man in his 60s, impeccably dressed, with grey eyes that assessed everything as if it were a business transaction. Miss Anderson, he greeted her formally, without rising from his seat. We finally meet. Mr. Moretti, Chloe replied, maintaining her composure. Dad, Vincent interrupted, taking Chloe's hand. I ask that you treat Chloe with the respect she deserves. She is my fiancée. Alberto smiled coldly. Yes, so you told me, an interesting decision. It's not a decision, Vincent replied. It's love. Love, Alberto repeated the word as if it were distasteful. Vincent, you're 30 years old. It's time you were realistic about these things. Chloe felt her blood boil. Realistic about what, Mr. Moretti? About class differences, about public implications, about the fact that you are one of the victims of our accident, which makes this relationship problematic. Problematic, Chloe repeated. An interesting way to describe love. Miss Anderson, let's be direct. You're an intelligent woman. You must understand that this relationship puts my son in a very difficult position. Why? Chloe leaned forward. Because I'm poor, because I work for you, or because my existence reminds you that your company destroyed lives. Alberto frowned. Because your relationship with my son could be interpreted as an admission of guilt on our part. And what does that mean? It means other victims could use your relationship as evidence for larger lawsuits. Vincent stood up abruptly. Dad! That's enough. No, Vincent. Chloe stood up as well. Let him speak. I want to hear exactly what he thinks. Alberto looked at her with something that might have been respect. Very well. I think you're an opportunist who saw a way to secure her financial future through my son. The silence that followed was deafening. Vincent was about to explode, but Chloe stopped him with a gesture. Mr. Moretti, Chloe said in a calm voice, may I ask you something? Of course. How long has it been since you've seen your son truly happy? The question took Alberto by surprise. "Excuse me, Vincent, when was the last time you saw him genuinely smile? When was the last time he talked about something that excited him?" Alberto glanced at his son, who was watching the conversation with intensity. "I've worked and for your company for 6 months," Chloe continued. "I've seen Vincent on his worst days and his best, before we started to get to know each other. He was a functional but empty man. He worked, he met his obligations, but he didn't live." "Miss Anderson, I'm not finished." Chloe approached the desk. "You see me as a threat to your company, your reputation, your social standing, but I see a man who is so afraid of his son being happy in a way he doesn't approve of that he's willing to destroy that happiness. I want what's best for my son." "No," Chloe shook her head. "You want what's most convenient for you." Alberto stood up, clearly annoyed. "Miss Anderson, I don't think you understand the magnitude of what you're asking. Vincent is the heir to a billion-dollar empire. His future wife must be equal to those responsibilities. And how do you know I'm not? Because you're a housekeeper." "I was," Chloe corrected him. "I was a housekeeper. Now I'm a teacher at the Boston Conservatory. I'm developing music programs for children with disabilities. I'm writing a book on adaptive techniques for musicians with physical limitations." Vincent looked at her, surprised. He didn't know about the book. "But more importantly than all of that," Chloe continued, "I love your son, not for his money, not for his position, but for the man he is when no one is looking, for the way he cares about the hotel employees, for how he anonymously donated the money for my mother's treatment, for the way he supports me without trying to change me." Alberto was silent for a moment. "And what about the scandal? What about the legal implications?" "Let them be faced as they should be," Chloe answered, "with honesty. If your company made mistakes, own them. If there are victims who deserve compensation, give it. Don't hide behind the fear of scandal." "Miss Anderson, you speak as if it were so simple." "It isn't simple, but it's the right thing to do." Vincent came to Chloe's side and put a hand on her back. "Dad, Chloe is right. We've been handling this wrong from the beginning." "Vincent, no, Dad. It's time for us to be better. It's time to be the company Mom would have wanted us to be." At the mention of his deceased wife, Alberto seemed to deflate slightly in his chair. Maria Moretti had been the moral heart of the family, and her loss 5 years ago had hardened Alberto in ways he himself didn't recognize. "Your mother," Alberto murmured, "always said that money without honor is worthless." "Exactly." Vincent sat down across from his father. "Dad, I'm in love with Chloe. I'm going to marry her. The question is whether you're going to be a part of our life or if you're going to choose pride over family." Alberto looked at Chloe for a long moment. "Do you truly love my son?" "With all my heart," Chloe replied without hesitation. "And will you love him when things get tough? When the press attacks you? When society judges you?" Chloe thought about everything she had overcome. The loss of her career, her mother's illness, the rebuilding of her identity. "Mr. Moretti, I have survived losing everything I thought defined me. I have learned to build a new life on the ashes of my old one. Do you think a few malicious comments are going to scare me?" For the first time since he had arrived, Alberto smiled genuinely. "Vincent, I think you've found someone who is just as stubborn as you are." Vincent laughed. "Is that a blessing?" Alberto stood up and approached Chloe. "Miss Anderson, Chloe, I owe you an apology for the accident, for the way we handled the situation, for the way I treated you today." "Apology accepted. And would you also accept an offer?" "What kind of offer?" "We want to fully fund your program at the conservatory. We want to turn it into a center of excellence for musicians with special needs. And we want you to be the director." Chloe looked at Vincent, who nodded enthusiastically. "Why would you do that?" Because my son is right. It's time to turn our mistakes into opportunities to do good. Alberto extended his hand. Partners. Chloe took his hand. Partners. 3 months later, Vincent and Chloe's wedding was held in the hotel garden, with an unusual mix of high society and families of the conservatory students. Chloe wore a simple but elegant dress, and for the first time in public, she wore no gloves. Her scars were visible, but she no longer saw them as marks of defeat, but as symbols of survival. During the ceremony, Chloe played a piece she had composed especially for the occasion. It wasn't technically perfect, but it was full of emotion and hope. When she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the audience. "Are you happy?" Vincent asked as they danced their first dance as husband and wife. "Happier than I ever thought I could be," Chloe answered. "And you?" "I'm complete," Vincent said, spinning her gently. "For the first time in my life, I'm complete." Chloe looked around the room. Her mother, radiant and healthy after her treatment. Alberto, talking animatedly with Mr. Garcia about expansion plans for the program. Her students from the conservatory, some of whom had played during the ceremony. Patricia and the hotel employees, who had become her second family. "You know what's the most incredible thing?" she said to Vincent. "What? If you had told me a year ago that I would be happier after the accident than before, I would have thought you were crazy." "And why?" "Do you think that is?" Chloe thought for a moment. "Because before my happiness depended on external things, my career, recognition, perfection. Now my happiness comes from within, from knowing who I really am, from loving and being loved, from helping others find their own path." Vincent kissed her softly. "You're extraordinary." "No," Chloe smiled. "I'm human. I'm imperfect. I'm a survivor. And that's more than enough." As they continued to dance, Chloe felt she had found something she didn't know she was looking for. Not just the love of a wonderful man, but the complete acceptance of herself. The scars on her hands no longer hurt. They had become part of her story, part of her strength. The fire had ended one life, but it had started another. A life that was entirely her own, built on her own terms, filled with authentic love and real purpose. And as the music surrounded them and the stars shone above, Chloe knew she had found exactly where she belonged, not in the perfection of what she had been, but in the imperfect beauty of what she had chosen to become. Chloe Moretti stood on the stage of the Wang Theatre, conducting her orchestra of children and young adults with disabilities. The program that had started with 10 students now had over 200 and had become an international model. In the audience, Vincent watched her with pride, holding their 2-year-old daughter, Isabella, who had her mother's green eyes and her father's dark hair. "Look, sweetie," Vincent whispered in her ear. "That's your mommy, changing the world one note at a time." In the front row, Helen applauded enthusiastically. Her cancer was in full remission, and at 60, she had returned to teaching, this time in Chloe's program. When the concert ended, Chloe joined her family amidst the audience's applause. "How was it?" she asked Vincent, taking Isabella in her arms. "Perfect," he replied, kissing her softly. "As always." Chloe looked at her hands. One scarred, the other untouched, that conducted those children who had learned that music has no limits, that beauty arises from authenticity, not perfection. "You know what?" she said to Vincent as they walked toward the exit, surrounded by students, parents, and colleagues. "What? I'm grateful. For what?" Chloe looked back at the stage where she had just conducted, toward the future she had built on the ashes of her original dreams. "For the fire." Vincent looked at her surprised. "Really?" "Really, because without it, I never would have known my true strength. I never would have discovered that music is so much bigger than I thought. I never would have found my real purpose." Chloe smiled, her eyes shining. "And I never would have met you." Vincent wrapped his free arm around her as Isabella played with her mother's necklace. "Then I'm grateful for the fire too," he said, "because it brought me the most extraordinary woman in the world." Chloe stopped and kissed him, right there in the middle of the theatre lobby, not caring who saw them, because she had learned that real happiness isn't hidden. It's celebrated, embraced, and lived to the fullest. And as they left the theatre into the starry Boston night, Chloe knew she had found something that no fire could ever destroy, a love that saw her as whole, a purpose that filled her with meaning, and the absolute certainty that scars weren't the end of the story. They were the beginning of a new one. Do you know someone who has found the strength to reinvent themselves after a devastating loss? This story reminds us that sometimes our darkest moments can lead us to our brightest light. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to be reminded that there is always hope. Tell us in the comments what city you're reading from and what part of the story moved you the most. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories that celebrate the power of love and human resilience. Your support inspires us to continue sharing these soul-touching stories.